All right, so today we're jumping into the powerhouse conclusion of one of the most famous speeches in history, the Sermon on the Mount. And this isn't some abstract philosophical lecture. No, this is a super practical guide to life, built around a handful of choices, some really vivid metaphors, and a final story you won't forget. So let's break it all down. And boom, the whole thing kicks off with this incredibly sharp question. It's designed to just stop you in your tracks, you know? Right away, it forces you to turn the focus inward. The argument is simple. Before you go assessing anyone else, the real work has to start with you. And that leads us right to the first big principle here. It's a lesson in judgment, but probably not in the way you're thinking. It all starts with this stark, almost funny metaphor for hypocrisy. I mean, just look at the wild exaggeration here. It's totally intentional. A tiny speck of sawdust compared to a giant wooden plank. The point isn't that other people's faults are always tiny and yours are gigantic. No, the point is that your own flaws should feel way more urgent and important to you than anyone else's. So this leads to a really clear two-step instruction. Step 1, deal with your own big stuff. Get that plank out of your eye. Only after you've done that will you have the clarity, step 2, to even see how to actually help someone else with their smaller issues. It's an absolute prerequisite for offering any real help. Okay, so once that foundation of self-awareness is set, the focus shifts. We move from looking inward to acting outward. It's about how we should proactively get out there and engage with the world and with others. Now, this isn't just saying the same thing 3 times. It's an escalation. Think about it. Asking is verbal. Seeking, well, that involves action. You're moving. And knocking, that's persistent. You're right at the door. It's a formula for taking initiative, and each step comes with this amazing promise of a response. And all this teaching about how to act kind of builds up to this one single powerful idea. We often call it the golden rule, and it's presented here as the ultimate summary of, well, everything. And what's fascinating is that you can find versions of this rule in philosophies all over the world, which suggests it taps into some deep shared truth about empathy. So simple, but so profound. So, with the principles for how to act established, the text now hits us with the central metaphor for life itself. It frames our entire existence as this fundamental choice between 2 very, very different paths. And the contrast here could not be more stark. You've got the wide gate, it's easy, it's popular, it's the default setting. Then you have the narrow gate. It's hard, it takes real effort, and frankly, it's not very crowded. And the text is crystal clear about where each path leads, one to destruction, the other to life. So if you're facing this critical choice, how do you navigate it? How do you tell if a guide or a teacher or even your own habits are leading you down the right road? Well, the text provides a test. And the key to this whole test is the idea of fruit. And fruit isn't about what someone says or how charismatic they are or their mission statement. Fruit is the tangible, observable result of their life. It's the evidence you can actually see and evaluate for yourself. This is where that test becomes absolutely crucial. The warning is that deception is real. Someone can look totally harmless, like a sheep, but inwardly have a destructive nature like a wolf. Their appearance is unreliable, but their fruit, their actual actions and the results of those actions, that's the only way you can know for sure. And to hammer the point home, it uses this simple metaphor from nature. A tree is known by what it produces. An apple tree makes apples. It's physically impossible for it to make thorns. In the same way, a person's true nature is going to come out consistently in their actions. The output reveals the source every time. And all of these ideas, the self-reflection, the action, the choice, the discernment, it all culminates now in one final, unforgettable story. It's a parable that acts as the ultimate test of what a life is really built on. See, this final story all hinges on one critical distinction. It's not about what you say. It's not about the labels you use. A true foundation is shown only by what you do. It is the ultimate difference between saying and doing. So that brings us to our 2 builders. And notice their starting point is identical. They both hear the exact same words, the same teaching. The only variable, the one and only difference between them, is whether or not they put what they hear into practice. And then the test comes. The storm is not optional. It's a metaphor for all the trials and pressures and challenges of life that come for everyone. Doesn't matter which path you're on or what kind of house you built. The storm tests both of them equally.
And that pressure is relentless. It just batters the structure that each person has built. And in that moment, everything depends on what that house is resting on.
And when that pressure hits, the foundation is all that matters. So here's the result. The wise builder, the one who acted on the words, built his house on the rock. It stood firm. But the foolish builder, the one who only heard the words, he built on sand. His house didn't just fail, it fell with a great crash. Same storm, two totally different outcomes, decided entirely by the foundation of action. At the end of the day, this whole teaching boils down to this single, powerful image. It's a choice, but it's not between two beliefs. It's between two foundations. A life built on the solid rock of action, or a life built on the shifting sand of inaction. So the question this ancient text leaves us with is a question for all of us today. What foundation are you building on?